I've always kind of been a big guy my entire life. I don't remember exactly when I really started to get like bigger. Even in elementary school, middle school, high school, like always been just Big John. Like it was my thing. I don't even remember when I got that nickname. Somebody asked me that the other day. They're like, when did you get the nickname Big John? I was like, I don't know. Because you can't give yourself a nickname. You guys understand that, right? Like it has to be bestowed upon you. So, and for some reason, I made it through elementary school, middle school, high school, and college without really even getting made fun of. I don't know what that was, right? Like a lot of times if you're a bigger guy, like people will make fun of you and they'll kind of razz on you. I'm not sure how I got away with that not happening, but I did. And I kind of saw, like in high school, it was kind of neat being the big guy. You made a lot of friends. It's kind of fun. My senior year, I was elected into student body council, and just, it was kind of a no big deal, right? In college, you guys hear about the freshman 15. If you haven't, you will when you go to college. Mine was like more like the freshman 100. I went to Bob Jones University. You guys, I'm sure, have heard of that place. So it was a lot of pizza, a lot of food in general. And the problem with me and my friends, whenever we want to hang out, we go and we get food, right? Like that's kind of our thing. And so I just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger until probably my senior year. Well, let me back up. It took me 6 years to graduate from college and what I should have done in 4. My senior year, what should have been my senior year, in 2001, I was like, forget this, I don't need college, I've got a great personality, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find a job doing sales, and I'm just going to live my life. And so I moved out, I was in the dorms over at Bob Jones at the time, called my parents, told them, said, I love you guys, but I'm not moving back in, I'm done with this. And I promptly moved in with a roommate. Do you guys know who Chris Sly is? Anybody know Chris Sly? Mm-hmm. The old American Idol guy, he was my roommate. And I got a job at a place that I should not have been working. I won't go into the details, but it was just a place that I knew immediately when I got the job that I should not be working there. But I was like, well, I need a job. It is what it is. So 3 days into this job, I walk out, and it was real late, probably 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm walking around the parking lot, and I go to my car, and my car is not there. So I can sometimes be a forgetful person. I was like, well, maybe I parked it somewhere else. So I walked around the parking lot 3 or 4 times, 0 car. So that night, my car was stolen from me. That was my livelihood. That's how I got everywhere. And the way I was raised formerly was that God is a God that's in heaven waiting for me to screw up. And as soon as I do, he's going to take his big holy baseball bat and beat me over the head with it. Right? And so I saw the car stealing thing as being a sign that God did not want me to do that, even though I already knew this. And so I thought to myself, man, God could have, one, killed me. He could have broken my neck. He could have done anything to disable me from being able to do this job. But he, in his providence, saw fit to have my car stolen. So I called Chris Sly, and I said, Chris, please come pick me up. He comes, picks me up the next day. That night, I fall on my knees and I say, Father, forgive me, because I had sinned. And the next day, I called my parents, big happy reunion, moved back in with them. That, at that point, was the biggest biggest I've ever been in my entire life. I weighed 330 pounds. So I didn't have a car. I didn't have a job. So I couldn't afford to do anything. Like, literally, my life was, every morning I would get up at 4:30 in the morning and ride to school with my dad, because my parents both worked at Bob Jones. So we would get to school at 5:30. My dad would then go work out, and then I was like, well, I'm here. I might as well go work out with him. So I started to go work out, started to have fun, started to eat right, and in a matter of about 6 months, I lost 120 pounds. Got down to 210 pounds. And it felt pretty awesome. But I remember the day that I hit that 210-pound mark, because to celebrate, anybody guess what we did to celebrate? Yep, went out to eat. To the old Prime Buffet over on Woodruff Road. Yeah, nailed it, right? I mean, just trouble waiting to happen. And so that day was the day like it just started to go back up, right, my weight. So then I got a job. I was able to afford a car. I was able to start going out to eat more. I was able to spend more time with my friends. When they would call me and say, hey, John, let's go get pizza or let's go get dinner, I was able to say yes. And gradually, just started putting the weight back on and back on and back on. And it perpetuated itself. It kept getting worse and worse and worse. And when I was probably 25 years old, I did something that I should not have done. And I knew in my heart, again, this is going to be a pattern throughout this story. I knew in my heart that I should have done it. And so I felt very guilty about it. And so as a result of that, I also started eating to cover up that guilt. Because I also felt that if I was the size that I was, that it wouldn't be a problem anymore. Like I wouldn't have a problem with that sin because I was so big, it just wouldn't be an issue. So that gets us to about a year ago. I was at the biggest I'd ever been. I weighed 570 pounds. So let me put that in perspective for you. I was over a quarter of a ton. I was 30 pounds away from literally having my own TV show on TLC. You know that show, The 600-Pound Life? Like, that would have been me. And it was amazing that I could still even walk. Honestly, it was amazing that I was still even alive. My blood pressure was 194 over 118. It should have been more like 120 over 70. To the tune of if I had like one more pretzel, I would have probably had a stroke. I mean, it was that bad. And I'd really just kind of given up. And this is the way I compare it now. I know, first of all, I know that I was addicted to food. And acknowledging that was a big thing to me. But I felt like I was committing a slow suicide. Right? Every day, I was putting food in my mouth that I knew would kill me sooner rather than later. And if God had not reached into my life and had not introduced people to me that got me kind of turned around, and I'll tell that story here in a second, I would probably be dead right now. It was just a matter of months. That's how extreme it was. So I was sitting in my office one day, making phone calls, and in between phone calls, I had this nasty habit of checking Facebook. And a friend of mine, an acquaintance of mine who I really didn't know, put a picture up of some food that he was eating, like at IHOP or something. And so I sent him a message, and I was like, hey man, saw this picture of the food you're eating, are you doing paleo? Because also at that size, even though I didn't really care, what I was looking for was a quick fix, right? Like I wanted to do something quick, and if I didn't see results quick, then I could abandon it and just not worry about it. His name was Sean, and he sent me a message back. He was like, nope, don't do paleo, let's get together and let's talk about it. So we got together, we went to Starbucks, and he got some really healthy drink, and I got like this white chocolate mocha with 3 pumps of raspberry that was amazing. And then he like razzed on me for like 20 minutes about getting that. It's okay, I'm not bitter about it. He saved my life. So we talked, and he was just straight up honest with me. He said, look man, it's a miracle that you're still alive. And the fact that you're actually able to walk and get to places is a miracle. And at that point, I was driving a Ford Excursion, the largest SUV on the market, because honestly, I couldn't drive anything smaller than that. Like, that was all I could fit in, and I could barely fit in that. Let me kind of give you some more stats. My pants, I was wearing a size 74 pants. To put that in perspective, most people, the average American male is about a 36 to 38. So 74 inches, that was very tight on me. I had to have the stretch pants, right, that would stretch. I was wearing an 8X shirt. It had gotten so bad that I could not buy clothes from the Big and Tall Men's store. I had to special order them online. Like, these are what you call a clue, right? There's a problem here. So Sean was kind of hashing through all this with me, and at the very end of our conversation, he said to me, John, I believe that God is calling me to be your trainer. And I was like, that's real cool, Sean. Did God tell you where the money was going to come from? Because I don't have it. And he said, I'm not worried about it. And guys, I'm telling you, that is a God thing that happened. Because honestly, I didn't care. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. It wasn't something that I was pursuing. It was actually a fluke that I even asked him what he was doing nutritionally. But I do know that there were people in my life who were praying for me, who said, seriously, God, we're real worried about John. He's killing himself. Something's got to happen. So those people interceded for me in prayer. And Sean said, I'm going to train you. So I'm thinking in my head, okay, maybe this is going to be like a once-a-month thing. We're going to get together. We're going to hang out. He's going to tell me what to do the rest of the month, and then we're going to meet again next month. Well, when we were done with that conversation, he said, hey, Saturday morning, meet me at Publix at 10 o'clock, and we're going to go shopping. So we went shopping for food. I'm going to tell you, that was the most miserable I've ever been. I, at that point in my life, could not stand up for more than 2 or 3 minutes at a time, and even that was a stretch, like literally just standing there. That was also the time I could not sleep in my own bed, because I would start to suffocate if I was laying down, so I had to sleep in a recliner. And so Sean's like, yeah, we're going to walk around and go grocery shopping. I'm like, I may not make it, right? This may be the end. If I die in Publix, you're going to have to carry me out. So 30 minutes in, I made it, and I look at my grocery cart, and I think, you know what? I can do this. So that day, I committed, and I said, God, clearly you brought Sean into my life for a reason. So whatever Sean tells me to do, whether I think it's right or whether I think it's wrong, I'm going to do it no matter what. So we leave Publix, and he says, hey, Monday morning, 7 o'clock, meet me at the gym. And at that point in my life, I didn't even realize there were 2 7 o'clocks in a day, right? Like I just thought, 7 o'clock at night, nothing else goes on. So I got up Monday, went into the gym, and we just jumped right in. And in 3 days, I lost 10 pounds. And in a week, I lost 18 pounds. And it just kept dropping off. And in 90 days, I lost 103 pounds. And clearly, I think when I look at that situation, I think there is no way humanly possible that those things could happen on my own. And again, I don't think that God had me get to the size that I was. I don't blame him for that, but I know now that I can use that story to redeem the situation, right? So we talk and we learn all the time. How do we redeem these things that look like negative situations? And God is now allowing me to tell my story to bring him glory. So probably 4 months in to working out with Sean, I go in one morning, back up one day. Sunday morning I go into church and I see a friend of mine there who runs a CrossFit gym. Have you guys heard of CrossFit? Yeah? Okay. It's the worst thing I've ever heard of or done in my entire life. We won't talk about that. But he says to me, hey man, real excited to see what God's doing in your life. Would love to get together with you and kind of talk about what's going on. So we set up a meeting to meet that next Wednesday. The following Monday, the day after Sunday when I saw Dave, I went into the gym to get ready for my training session. And the head trainer comes up to me and goes, hey man, did you hear about Sean? And I'm thinking, something minor's happened, like he is sick, he won't be here today. And he proceeded to tell me that Sean was in a horrible motorcycle wreck and had crushed both of his hips, crushed his pelvis, broken his right ankle, broken his right leg, broken his collarbone. Just a big mess. So at that point, I had to make a decision because I knew that Sean obviously was not going to be able to train me. So I had to figure out what was going to happen next. And for those of you that don't know me, which is everybody with a few exceptions in the back, I am great at making excuses. Probably one of the best. Like if you need a good excuse to get out of something, I'm your man. So I knew that I would probably use this situation to make an excuse to get out of living this lifestyle that I had now chosen as a healthy lifestyle. So I saw the opportunity of talking with the guys at Southern Moon CrossFit as an opportunity to kind of get out of that situation and keep going head down. So let's fast forward a little bit. As of right now, I am at 390 pounds. So I've lost 190 pounds. Thank you. That's, and again, I want to reiterate, that's a God thing. The fact that I've lost 190 pounds in 8 months is a God thing. And he has given me the willpower. He literally stepped into my life. There's many messages, many thoughts that crossed my mind when I was thinking about what I was going to talk to you guys about tonight. But one of those is that prayer works. And I know that you guys believe that, and I know that sounds trite. I know you guys hear that. Man, probably every time you're here, you hear that. But if you know somebody that's going through something and you've had a conversation with them and they're not willing to change, you know the God that can intercede in their life and change them. So I want to encourage you with that. Here's the other thoughts that I had. God commands us to do 2 things as believers, right? Do we know what those are? Very basic. There's a lot more than this, but very basic. Love God and love others. When I was at 570 pounds, I could not do either one of those effectively. I know you guys are thinking, man, John, come on, man. But, how does that work? Let me tell you. We'll go at it backwards. So, loving others, what does that look like? What are opportunities for you guys? What are opportunities for me to serve other people that might be hindered by some kind of physical limitation? I have a friend, his name is Jason Cornwell, we call him Corn Dog, and his love language is or the way he shows love to other people is by helping them move. So, and here, you guys know, maybe you don't know, but when you get older and you have friends who start to move, when they ask you to help them move, it's the worst thing ever, right? But Jason, you don't even have to ask him. He just shows up and he loves people by helping them move. I wanted to be able to do that, but I couldn't at 570 pounds. I was literally more of a liability than I was an asset. I couldn't serve at church. I couldn't do really anything. I was really lucky if I even got to go to church, honestly. To get out of my house and to go was a task. So I couldn't love others. But most importantly, we're called to love God first. And you may think, John, I know that I can be this size, whatever size you are, and love God. And that's 100% true. Absolutely. I know that for a fact. But here's what affected my love for God. Food had become an idol to me. Every waking moment, that's really all I thought about. John Calvin, an old school theologian, once said, our hearts are idol factories. Satan, all he wants to do is take our heart away from loving God, and so he'll take anything in your life, anything, even the good things, and turn them into idols. Food is a great thing, right? Kind of a necessity. You have to have it to live. But Satan used that in my life to really kind of take over and take my direction and take my heart away from loving God. I don't know what your idol is. You could look at me. I could stand in the mirror and I could look at myself and I could tell food was my idol. You could look at me and say, look, I know that John struggles with food. I can't look at you guys and see what you struggle with. I don't know what your idol is. Only you know. And honestly, some of you may not even know. You define an idol by, again, what does it take? What is it doing to distract your heart from loving God? Here's how we can figure this out. What is it? Is it drugs? Is it dishonesty, disrespect? Is it your peer group? Is it relationships? I don't know what it is. Again, good things can be turned into idols. Here's a little test. Think about it this way. If God were to deny you of the one thing you wanted most in life, would you chuck your faith and walk away? Let me ask you that again. If God were to deny you the one thing you wanted most in life, would you chuck your faith and walk away? Now, I know you're thinking, man, I mean, come on, John, that's a stretch, right? Going from talking about being overweight to now you're kind of digging into my idols. Like, what's going on? God uses very strange things to bring to light things that he wants us to pay attention to. One more time. If God were to deny you the one thing you wanted most in life, would you chuck your faith and walk away? What is that one thing? You guys know the story of Moses, right? In the desert for 40 years. And at the end of that 40 years, because he struck the rock, God said, sorry, man, you can't have the one thing you wanted most in life. The one thing you worked for 40 years to get, can't have it. Sorry. What did Moses do? Did he get upset? But then you know what he did? Was he kept pointing people to Christ. Even though he was denied that one thing, he still kept moving. And he kept pointing people to Christ. So here's what it is. Once you identify that idol, and again, I have no idea what that is for you. Once you identify it, it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. Man, if I realized, like if I thought that I could wake up and just be done with this weight problem and just hit my goal of 220 pounds, if I thought that was an option, best thing ever, right? But it's a process. Just like ridding your life of these idols or this idol. So realize what the idol is and then repent. You guys know this stuff. It's basic. Repenting is agreeing with God that what you're doing is wrong and turning 180 degrees and going the opposite direction. And then every day it's a process to uproot that idol. Because again, we're called to do two things. The number one thing is to love God. It says in Matthew 22:37 through 40, we'll just read the main part there. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. If there's anything that takes your heart away from that focus, that's an idol. And it's got to be gone. All right? I want to pray for us, and then we'll turn it over to these guys.